Hi. One thing that's been on my mind lately, because it's the week of Apple-mania and the release of new stuff, the debut of new stuff, has been iPhones. And iPhones more generally speaking. This year, because it will eventually be next year and the year after that when you'll be viewing this, this year is the release of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, which will one day be ancient technology. Like, people actually had cell phones and these little brick things that we carried around in our pockets, because who knows what else we'll be using in the future, or however it may be integrated into our bodies and whatnot. But anyway, one thing that's been on my mind has been iPhones, and I actually have an iPhone of my own. I have a 3GS, which I've had since 2009, which means it's 5 years old. So in terms of technology, somehow it's ancient, but it actually doesn't feel ancient to me because it still feels current, and it's a really nicely designed device. Actually, I have it right here. There's my little phone. It's still a really nice device. It has a lovely design. It just works really well. They're really quality pieces of technology, which is really what I'm getting to, because my phone is still really nice 5 years on, but it's like I am struggling to keep this thing alive. The battery, actually my dad replaced for me last year, but it was on its last legs for like a year and a half. The phone was dying everywhere, and the phone was just falling apart, and I was really thinking about just getting a new one, but I really didn't want to replace that one because, first of all, mine's perfectly fine. I kind of struggled with iPhone addiction for a while, and so the last thing I wanted was another new phone with all these other toys that's just going to suck me into it. It took me 4 years to just get to a good balance with managing that phone, and I didn't have phone addiction half as bad as most people because I don't get text messages constantly all day long. I can't stand that shit. But anyway, so the last thing I wanted was another phone, really. I wanted more memory, but I didn't really want another phone. And I just don't really want another one when there's nothing wrong with what I have. I'm still satisfied with it. I like new toys, but I don't want to spend another $300-400. I'd like to have that money for something else. These phones are not designed to be modular in any way. They're not designed to be future-proof. They're not designed to be fixed up. They're really designed to be used for 2-3 years and then thrown away. You can't get in there and replace the battery easily. It's like performing open heart surgery. You can. It's not the end of the world, but it's very, very difficult. And you can't actually send it in. You can send the phone in to have the battery replaced, but you're not actually going to get your phone back, and it's going to cost you like $100, which is ridiculous. So the whole process is designed to be very prohibitive, which of course is very convenient because it just encourages you to buy a new phone. And I suppose, on the one hand, well, you just buy a new phone, you get all the extra doodads and stuff, but it's just such a colossal waste, My thing is, why should you have to buy a whole new device if there's something wrong with what you have? Why can't I replace the battery, which is the one weak component, when everything else is working fine? And while I'm at it, why can't the phone be designed to be a little bit more modular so that I can maybe swap out the memory or plug in some memory? And if I could do that, then the phone would be future-proof for another few years, because the only other limiting factor is the fact that I only have 32 gigabytes. If I could just have the phones that were a little bit more modular so I could swap out the memory. If you can swap out the battery and swap out the memory, the phone's future-proof for years. You can use it for years beyond that 2 or 3 year window. But of course, then you wouldn't be buying a new phone, and so you wouldn't be spending another $300 or $400, and then you wouldn't be feeding into that cash cow frenzy, which is the business of Apple. Because that's the whole reason why it's done like that, because it's just a very tight ecosystem that makes some people a bunch of money. But it's just kind of insulting, because you have this really nice device, and then after 3 or 4 years, you just throw it to the side. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still a beautiful piece of industrial design. It still works really well. It still performs 95% of the functions that I do on a day-to-day basis. No, it doesn't do like the video editing of the new phones. No, it can't do those really high-power functions. Yes, it is a little bit slow. But the thing is that these new phones are really powerful computers. The new phones, and even, these smartphones are really computers. And computing power has progressed to the point that you don't really need to keep upgrading and upgrading, because what we already have is plenty to do all the web browsing and most everyday functions that people do. So the only reason you need to buy a new phone is if, you really don't need to. You're just forced to because components wear out that really should be fixable. But there is a neat term for this, planned obsolescence. It's not something that's unique to Apple. And it's just standard business practice. That's part of business. It's just catastrophic environmentally. It's such a waste. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of the rare earth minerals that are put into these devices, the gold, very valuable things, very energy intensive things to produce. And it's a waste of energy in actually making it. And especially considering that in this day and age with our environmental crises and producing too much, consuming too much, wasting too much, the fact that you have millions of these phones made every year that are basically going to be cast aside after just 2 or 3 is just mind-boggling. So I would love a new phone, but it's kind of insulting that I actually have to buy one because there's nothing wrong with mine. Even as I say that, my criticisms do not mean that I don't appreciate the fact that these new phones and all the iPhones are really beautiful pieces of industrial design, are beautiful pieces of technology. They're beautiful, they work so well, and they're fantastic. But that being said, they're not designed to be used into the future, they're designed to be thrown away. And some people actually do throw them away, I'm sure, which is just, I can't understand how you would actually throw something like that into the trash can with all that valuable stuff inside. Maybe not an iPhone because you can actually still sell them, but people actually throw cell phones away, or throw technology away. And that's just kind of the insanity of the whole thing. They're fantastic devices, it's just, they should be future-proof. You shouldn't have to replace it so constantly. You shouldn't have to replace them every 2 or 3 years. You should be able to use it longer. You should be able to get more use out of it. You should be able to use it years into the future, because there's no reason why you can't. Unfortunately, camera died, had to change batteries. Anyway, I've been rambling, almost ranting. I'm gonna leave it at that. These are some thoughts I've had swirling around in my mind for quite some time. I've been thinking about doing some kind of written form post about it, but I just feel like talking right now, so anyhow, my opinions. Actually, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. So I don't know if anyone's actually watching this. You could leave a comment below. Maybe we can get some kind of thoughtful discussion going. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Till next time. Bye.